Morning, everyone. I hope you guys are staying warm and dry on this rainy day. Before we get started, I have a couple announcements. First, you guys aren't going to have a team meeting today or tomorrow. So we're going to see you on Teams for math on Monday, but we have a class meeting on Friday at 1:30. Our class meetings are just for fun, just to check in. But our next math class will be on Monday. Second, today's lesson is very long. And there are only 4 lessons in this week. So I'm going to split today's lesson into 2 lessons. If you want to do it all today, then great. But I'm going to split it into 2 YouTube videos. So you're going to have one today and one tomorrow, but it's all for lesson 4. But it's really long, and don't feel like you have to do all of it today. So do some today and do the rest tomorrow. And my YouTube video for tomorrow will deal with fractions greater than 1 whole, and today's lesson are fractions less than 1 whole. So on that note, let's get started. So while I'm sharing my screen, why don't you make sure that you have your packet in front of you. Here we are. And for this first part, you guys are just watching. Now, again, we've done this before, and so you're going to recognize a lot of these terms, and a lot of these words are going to be very familiar to you. So for today's lesson, we're going to be able to use benchmark fractions to compare fractions. So benchmark fractions are friendly fractions that when we're putting fractions on a number line, we automatically know where the benchmarks go. So our benchmarks are 1, 1/2, and 0. So whenever you're putting fractions on a number line, always label these 3 points first, because it can help you figure out where other fractions go. And when we're comparing fractions, we're deciding if fractions are greater than, less than, or equal to another fraction. So we're deciding which fraction is bigger or smaller than the other, or if they're equal or equivalent. Okay, let's take a look at the first one. So it says, for fractions between 0 and 1, using 1/2 is a helpful benchmark to compare and order fractions. Plot the following points on the number line without measuring. So we're not going to decompose the number line into 4ths, 8ths, and 12ths. We're going to estimate about where they go based on what we know about their size compared to 1/2. So let's start with 3/4. Now, I know that 3/4 is greater than 1/2 because 1/2 is equivalent to 2/4. And 1 whole is equivalent to 4/4. So I know that 3/4 is going to go exactly in between 2/4 and 4/4. So it's going to go right about here. So I'm going to label my 3/4 right there. So I know that it's greater than 1/2. So the strategy that I used there was I used a fraction equivalent to 1/2. And those we should all have memorized. Okay, let's look at 5/8. Now I know that 5/8 is also greater than 1/2 because I know that 4/8 is equal to 1/2. So I know that 5/8 is just 1/8 more than 4/8. And that's going to go right here. An 1/8 is smaller than a 4th. So it's a shorter distance away from 1/2. It's only 1/8 away, whereas 3/4 is a whole 4th away. So we're going to put 5/8 right here. I'm trying to be careful about how I draw it so you guys don't get mixed up. So I'm sorry if this is taking longer than it normally would. Now for our last one, 7/12. Now I know that 7/12 is also greater than 1/2 because, oops, I'm gonna have to extend my page, because I know that 1/2 is equal to 6/12 because 6 is half of 12. And just like the other ones, 4 is half of 8, 2 is half of 4. So 7/12 is just 1/12 away from 1/2. Now a 12 is teeny, 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 tiny. If you think about it, imagine you're trying to split a piece of gum between 12 people. The pieces that you're going to get are going to be really small. Whereas if you're splitting it between 4 people, the pieces are going to be a little bit bigger. Still small, but a little bigger than 12ths. So 1/12 away, if this is 6/12, 7/12 is going to be like right there. I'm going to have to write this teeny tiny. Let's see if I can do it. 7/12 is really close to 1/2 because a 12th is so small. So this is just 1/12 away. This is 1/8 away, and this is 1/4. Ooh, 1/4 away from 1/2. So that's one way that you can think about it. Let's take a look at our next one. Okay, so this one says, got to get a little coffee for that. Says use the number line in part A to compare the fractions by writing greater than, less than, or equal to on the lines. So they gave us the answers, but I'm going to work on explaining how they came up with those answers, because it doesn't matter if you have the answer, you have to know how to get the answer. So we're comparing 3/4 and 1/2, and we actually did that in part A. So let's take a look again. So 3/4 is greater than 1/2, and I knew that because 1/2 is equal to 2/4. So here, since 1/2 is equal to 2/4, then I know that 3/4 is greater. Now, how do we know that 5/8 is bigger than 7/12? They're both greater than 1/2, but let's think about the distance from 1/2. So 7/12 again is just one teeny tiny 12th away from 1/2. Whereas 5/8 is 1/8 away, which is a greater distance. So since 5/8 is farther away from 1/2 than 7/12, we know that 5/8 is bigger. Okay, let's take a look at this one. It says compare the fractions below by writing greater than, less than, or equal to on the line. Give a brief explanation for each answer referring to the benchmarks 0, 1/2, and 1/2. So we've done this a lot in class. I know that you guys probably remember all the writing we did when we were trying to explain our thinking, explaining how we use the benchmarks to compare. So I'm going to do an example here. So here, 5/8 is greater than 6/10. It's very, very similar to our last one. So again, we already know that 5/8 is 1/8 away from 1/2. Whereas 6/10, so 1/2 is equivalent to 5/10. So 6/10 is just 1/10 away. So 6/10. Oh, I made a mistake, you guys. But if you were here, you would be pointing that out the whole time. This should be 5/8. I get carried away with my drawing and I make some mistakes. So this should be 6/10. 6/10 is just 1/10 away, and a 1/10 is a shorter distance than an 1/8. Okay. It says, so here's our let's try. So get out your packets, pencil. We're going to do this part together. So I'm going to give you a second to make sure you have your packet and your pencil and you're on this page. Okay, it says plot the following points on the number line without measuring. So we're not going to decompose the number line into tenths, fifths, and fourths. I know Jaylee and Jose, you're probably going to want to decompose the whole number line. We're not going to do that. Okay, let's start with 8/10. Now we know that 1/2 is 5/10. So 8/10 is going to be 3/10 away. Now, 1 whole is 10/10. So it's going to be 2/10 away from 1 whole and 3/10 away from 1/2. So it's actually closer to 1 whole than 1/2. So we're going to put it right about here. We know it's just 2/10 away. Now 3/5. This is a tricky one because the denominator is odd. When the denominator is odd, it can be kind of hard to figure out if it's more or less than 1/2 because you can't split an odd number in half. So what we're going to do is we're going to convert it to tenths using equivalent fractions. So I want you to think in your head, what do I multiply 5 by to get 10? And it's 2. 5 times 2 is 10. So to change this to tenths, we're going to multiply the numerator and denominator by 2. And so we get 6/10. Now, 6/10 is very close to 1/2. It's only 1/10 away. So 3/5 is going to go really close to 1/2. Last but not least, we have 1/4. Now we know that 1/2 is 2/4. So 1/4 has to be less than 1/2. So we're going to jump back 1/4, and 1/4 goes here. And there we go. So we compared each fraction to 1/2 or a whole, and sometimes we need to use equivalent fractions if our denominator is odd, but that's the trick. And you guys, I know you guys have done a ton of this, so it shouldn't be that hard. Okay, this is our last one for today. Use the number line in problem 1 to compare the fractions using greater than, less than, or equal to on the lines. So we've seen all of these fractions before. So let's think about them. 1/4, we already know that 1/4 is less than 1/2 because we just did that in our last problem. Also, they have the same numerator, so you just need to compare the units. Halves are greater than fourths. 8/10 and 3/5, we did that here too. We know that 3/5 is equal to 6/10. Ooh. And you guys should be writing this with me. So we know that 8/10 is bigger. 1/2 and 3/5. Well, we know again 3/5 is equal to 6/10, and 1/2 is equal to 5/10. So 3/5 must be bigger because 1/2 is equal to 5/10. And if this wasn't obvious before, if I write the fraction under another one, it means they're equal. So I'm writing this underneath because I don't have a lot of room, but it's equal. 1/4 and 8/10, well, this is obvious because we know that 8/10 is greater than 1/2 and 1/4 is less than 1/2. So we know that 1/4 is less than 8/10. Okay, guys, I want you to do the first part of your problem set on your own. When you start to hit fractions that are greater than 1 whole, stop. We'll do that tomorrow. All right, enjoy your day, and I will see you tomorrow. Remember, no Teams lesson today. Okay, bye.